Grab a pile of dirt and get attacked by your zombie wife. It's time to risk your life trying to get a children's book. Another episode of From means me venting my frustration out in a manic video because none of my friends watch this show in real life. Here we have a detailed breakdown of the episode where we'll go over such topics as Sophia's tooth fairy fetish, the Lake of Tears and Chromonocle connection, what's going on with Acosta in that basement, and Victor's connection to the man in yellow. All of that and more, but before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe and leave your theories in the comments below. Well, if this isn't awkward, we have Elgin and Fatima coming face to face for the first time since Elgin kidnapped her in season 3. I'm not really sure who had the brilliant idea to keep these two in the same house. Perhaps Boyd thought it was best to keep up appearances since they're hiding from the town the truth that Boyd tortured Elgin, Elgin kidnapped Fatima, and Fatima gave birth to one of the monsters. And that's not even mentioning Fatima's murder of Tilly. This is all in an effort to keep the town from tearing itself apart. All things considered, Fatima is pretty understanding when it comes to Elgin. She knows that this place took advantage of them. What matters now is how do these two move on? And this is where Fatima asks for Elgin's help with something. Stick around to my trailer sleuthing section because we do get a small glimpse at what they're doing. At the sheriff's office, Boyd has nightmares about his dead wife, Abby. In particular, the day she shot up the town believing death was the only way to free them from this nightmare. This is particularly traumatizing for Boyd as it's the day he shot and killed his wife. This ties into Boyd's connection with Danny Acosta, who last episode took the ambulance for a joyride believing she could find a way out of this place. Danny has been placed under arrest, and look, they've even allowed her to keep her gun. Not to worry, it doesn't have any bullets. If you remember, Boyd keeps all the bullets hidden away in the room next door, and even suggested they be saved in case things get so bad in town they all have to kill themselves. Well, that's what Danny wants to do. She asks for one bullet so she can off herself in the woods. Boyd agrees to give her this bullet on one condition, but we'll get into that and Danny's connection with Boyd's dead wife in a bit. Back at the clinic, the body of the pastor is prepared for burial. We really don't know anything about this guy other than Sophia said he played an important part in this story, likely because he helped bring and solidify Sophia's presence in town. And just an FYI, for the purposes of this video, I will be using the names Sophia and the man in yellow interchangeably. Sophia's asked for a moment with the man she's tricked everyone into believing is her father. We know the two aren't related at all. And in a shocking reveal, we see Sophia physically remove one of his teeth, stating, "I couldn't let you go without something to remember you by." Now this could be as simple as the man in yellow wanting to keep a memento of his kills. If that's the case, I wonder if she has something of Jim's. The show also has two throwbacks to teeth that may or may not have a connection here. During Smiley's autopsy in Season 2, we see a solitary human tooth and wallet that were found on his person. Did Smiley also keep mementos? Did the man in yellow give it to him? Whatever the case may be, there is definitely a theme of objects as mementos. Victor kept objects of the dead from the massacre, and Boyd will task Danny with coming up with a narrative for the forgotten items in the basement of Colony House. The other connection to teeth involves Fatima, who, while pregnant with the monster, started to lose hers. The first time we see Jade this episode, he's meditating. He'll later state that he's trying to calm himself to unlock memories of the past, but nothing seems to be working. We'll get a brief glimpse of Jade's timeline, which, if you haven't seen my episode 2 video, I go over in great detail. Boyd's come to see if Jade has made any progress, but the man has hit a wall. He actually wants to test out a new theory inspired by Henry's wife Miranda. It was after taking acid, Miranda started to see visions of this place. So maybe if Jade takes drugs, he can unlock something. At the end of the episode, Jade will discover these mushrooms, and I'm willing to bet they're magic. So buckle up for a Jade mushroom trip in the episodes to come. Jade has chosen not to attend Jim's funeral. This is probably a good idea after his last talk with Tabitha, who told him she wished it had been him instead of Jim. The funeral is a somber affair, interrupted by a murder of crows. Kenny will later mention this is the first time crows have amassed in one area other than the trees, which herald a new person arriving to town. There was the time a crow flew into Colony House, but that was just one. There's obviously some sort of connection between the man in yellow and these crows, but to what extent isn't clear. For example, can Sophia control these crows? Can she use them as spies to see and hear what's going on about town? For example, a solitary crow watches as Victor, Jade, and Ethan discover the man in yellow's shirt, a shirt they theorize he wanted them to find. At the diner, Victor has come to show Ethan his drawing of the Matthews family. Drawing has always been Victor's way of remembering. Ethan and Victor have been good friends since season 1, and they'll start their quest to find the Lake of Tears, the mysterious location Jim tasked Ethan with finding at the end of last episode. We'll learn a bit more about this lake in a bit. It's Sophia, however, that just has to ruin a good meal. She asks Kenny if anything like those crows has happened before, which ties into what she asked Sarah last episode, about when the strange things in town started to happen. Kenny notes that it all seemed to start around the time Jade and the Matthews family arrived in town. In a span of a few days, we'd see the deaths of the Pratt family, Jade's friend Toby, and Kenny's dad. Essentially, what Sophia is doing here is sowing the seeds of discord, linking Jade and the Matthews family as the cause of the town's suffering. This is a great strategy if you want to see this town tear itself apart. Julie introduces herself to Sophia, which is a big mistake. She doesn't know they've already met. Her future Storywalker version witnessed Sophia's man in yellow murder her father at the end of season 3. With absolutely no social awareness, Sophia tells Julie she thinks there's some sort of connection between their arrival in town and these deaths. And Julie does not take it well. We'll see Sophia watch Tabitha try to calm Julie down, and it's almost like she's taking pleasure in watching the pain she's just caused. Speaking of pain, Ellis tries to ease Fatima's after all she's been through. He'll later take her to the car graveyard to let off some steam. After all, it was Fatima who helped Ellis process the death of his mother. Now Ellis is returning the favor and doing everything he can to be there for her. Of particular note is Fatima's knowing nod to Elgin, who we see carrying a cooler full of dirt. Later in the episode, we'll see him transport this to Colony House, where Fatima says they'll need more for whatever it is they're attempting to do. Victor takes Ethan to his room, where we see an extra bed has been set up for Henry. Victor says if Ethan's ever afraid, he'll always be there to talk to. But Ethan is more interested in whether Victor knows if there are any lakes nearby. Victor only knows of the Brundles, which is more of a pond than anything. At least that's a start. Victor doesn't want to go there because he finds water creepy, but he'll eventually make a deal with Ethan to take him where he needs to go in exchange for telling him what he's searching for. Tabitha arrives home to find this picture of the lighthouse, the same lighthouse the boy in white threw her out of at the end of season 2. Tabitha's on her own journey this episode, writing a goodbye note to her kids with the intention of traveling back through the bottle tree in the hopes of finding a way home. Meanwhile, Julie has a new plan to develop her story-walking abilities. Since Ethan learned of story-walking from his books, she believes they may hold the key to help her control these abilities. This would allow her to save her dad. The only problem is that these books are buried under the old Matthews house, which collapsed way back in 201. This is the house Tabitha dug the hole under, which led to the tunnel system. Meanwhile, Ethan and Victor enlist the help of Jade. Jade's been desperate for answers, so anything that gets him searching for something new, he's totally down for. Ethan tells us that the lake has magical powers. It can make people better after they're hurt, so he hopes this lake might be able to bring back his dad. Sophia recites the biblical story of Achan, a man who caused the entire nation of Israel to suffer because he offended God. It's a metaphor for Jade and the Matthews family, who she believes are causing the town to suffer. Kenny sort of skirts the issue and changes the topic to where Sophia is going to live. Kenny actually suggests Colony House first, where he stays, which might suggest he has a little thing for Sophia. But notice how Sophia quickly dismisses this idea, stating there are too many people there. Sophia already knows where she wants to stay, and for Kenny, it's the place he'd least suspect with Sarah. Sarah has kind of become the town's pariah. She killed Toby, her brother, tried to kill Ethan, and tortured Elgin. It's a wonder she's even still alive, let alone anyone wanting to live with her. Knowing the man in yellow, there is definitely a reason he's wanting to be close to her. Perhaps she can manipulate Sarah. What I want to know is if Sophia knows about Sarah's special abilities. Sarah's often heard voices telling her to do things. So is Sophia cozying up to Sarah because it's a keep your enemies closer type of situation? Or does she see her as a potential ally or pawn in her plans to tear the town apart? Sarah will later agree to have Sophia live with her, officially making this the house I'd least want to live in. Randall looks for a little blue bag that contains all of Ethan's books. The wreckage of the house is extremely dangerous, and one wrong move could see him crushed. We'll see remnants of Jim and Tabitha's theories about the town, which they wrote on the walls, like, did we survive the crash? Randall will find 2 books which have been mentioned going back to Season 1, The Grand Gulagog and Flight of the Cromonocle. Ethan believes Flight of the Cromonocle is deeply connected to the town. Here's what we know. Locations from the book appear to mimic locations in the town. The Lake of Tears is one such location, a place the hero must cross in order to make it deeper into the story. This is guarded by a forest spider, which might mean Boyd and Sarah were close to this lake while passing the spiderweb forest in Season 1. In Season 1, Ethan compares the storage room in the diner to a location in the Cromonocle called the Cavern of the Lonely Dragon, a place things no one wants are stored. It's this cavern that contains the map of the rainbow sky, which the Cromonocle uses to find her way home. Maybe the book will contain a clue on how to find this map, which will lead them to the Lake of Tears. Maybe Julie will have to use her story-walking ability to find this map. Or maybe Ethan's wrong and the Cavern of the Lonely Dragon isn't the diner's storage room, but the one in the Colony House basement. The one Boyd tasks Acosta with searching for clues or something they miss. He specifically calls the stuff here non-useful. Boyd gives Acosta this task partly to take her mind off killing herself, but also because she reminds him of someone. That someone is his wife. He wasn't able to save her life, but maybe he can save Acosta's. Acosta and Boyd's wife share a bit in common. Both are blonde, white, headstrong females with backgrounds in either the military or law enforcement. It could even be that Acosta has taken over Abby's role in this story after her death. Ethan makes a really good analogy that supports his theory that the Lake of Tears is a real place. He brings up the nightmares his mom had about the little girl and the red rocks. It turned out those were real. Maybe the same is true with Ethan and the Lake of Tears. It's not a story, but an actual place. Henry has taken a particular interest in Tabitha. Like her, he knows what it's like to lose your family. But I also feel he has this inexplicable bond with her because of Tabitha's connection to Miranda, Henry's late wife. In fact, Tabitha almost discloses this connection to him, but isn't able to quite get it out. Henry knows Tabitha is up to something and essentially finds out she intends to go back through the bottle tree. A bottle tree he says looks identical to the one his wife made back in the real world, with the exception of the hole in its trunk. He isn't going to let Tabitha go through that tree. He saw what happened to Dale, and if that happened to Tabitha, Julie and Ethan would grow up without parents. Luckily, they're interrupted by the boy in white, who's now more like a teenager in white. The last time we saw him was in Season 3, Episode 9, when he stopped Victor from chopping down the bottle tree, claiming it's important. Victor is frustrated and wonders why the boy won't help him. He won't help because he tried to with Christopher and it didn't work. The only way the townspeople will understand is if they learn for themselves. Here's what we learn from his interaction with Tabitha. He doesn't think the tree will take her back to the lighthouse. This would imply that it wasn't because Tabitha was special that led her there, but it was the right time. Dale went in at the wrong time and ended up in a wall. In Season 1, Victor would remark how the trees move, so maybe that has something to do with it. The boy in white also states they are getting close, but they're running out of time. I was hoping for a little bit more from the boy in white here, as it's all still very cryptic. Near the ruins where the man in yellow shapeshifted, Victor finds the man in yellow's clothes. This frightens Victor so much that he pees his pants and cowers in fear. These clothes remind Victor of something he, quote, told himself wasn't real, so it's very likely Victor has met the man in yellow before. Victor has a history of blocking out traumatic memories only for different objects to jog his memory. He more than likely witnessed the man in yellow committing some sort of heinous act. It's also here that Jade finds these mushrooms, which he'll likely take in his search for answers. Our last scene sees Boyd at his wife's grave. We've seen him often come here to talk about life and what's going on in town. This time, however, he comes to lament the man he's becoming. This town is changing him. Acosta even called him a monster. He reiterates the importance of trying to keep this town together and acknowledges he needs help. This is when a hand reaches from beyond the grave and grabs hold of him. Knowing Boyd's history, we can't be sure this is really happening. Boyd has seen visions of ghosts like Father Katri and the ballerina, so this could entirely be in his head, especially considering the emotional state he's in. But will this scene advance the plot, or was it just a cheap way to end the episode? For example, right before the hand comes out, Boyd asks for help. Maybe this helping hand will leave a mark on Boyd's wrist, or maybe it left behind an object of some sort. Who knows, he may go full crazy and dig up his wife's grave, but I find that more unlikely. But to find out where the show might be headed next, we head into our trailer sleuthing section. There's also a new trailer I found on Teflon TV's channel, which I'll be referencing, so I'll leave a link to that in the description. Keep in mind I won't be covering every shot, just the stuff that adds new context given the events of episode 3. Here's Boyd in the basement of Colony House. He had tasked Acosta with going through the stuff down here. I wonder if Acosta has found something. Here we have Ellis and Ethan with a few others traveling with big backpacks. I wonder if they're on the search for the Lake of Tears. Ellis also said he was preparing to go on a food run the next day, so maybe Ethan tags along. Victor digs up a drawing of the man in yellow, pretty much confirming he's seen him before in the past. The man in yellow's shirt is taken to the sheriff's office. I wonder how much Victor remembers about this man, because if Victor knows he can shapeshift, that's going to really mess with our townsfolk. This ring we see here is the only object I could think of that might have been left by Abby's hand, although I think that's a bit of a stretch. Here's that quick shot of what Fatima is doing with the dirt at Colony House. It looks as though she's added water or some sort of mixture, turning it into mud or clay. Honestly, the only thing I can think of that she's doing is making a piece of art. We know she's an artist, and maybe this is her way of healing through the loss of a quote-unquote child. Here's Jade in the tunnels. I wonder if this is when he takes the mushroom. He'll state here that he went looking for answers and found answers. He's wearing the same shirt as he is in the tunnels. I wonder if this is before or after he's surrounded by the creatures. Here's Sophia behind Sarah. It looks like Sophia has moved in. Could Sophia be responsible for what's happening to Sarah? This looks pretty similar to when Sarah heard voices in past seasons. Father Katri makes an appearance here in the sheriff's office where the bullets are located. Here's Boyd taking a sledgehammer to this wall. I'm gonna guess this is Colony House, but it could also be the church basement. Tabitha gets a phone call. Phone and radio calls have been used in the past, which could mean it's Jim, the man in yellow, or the man in yellow using the voice of Jim or Tabitha's son Thomas. Honestly, it's anyone's guess. And that about does it for this week's video. Now I turn it over to you. What do you think will happen next? I want to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember,
Daddy loves you very much.